Back on, Gertie Rude, back again, that Saturday mood. Well, here I am back again, we're having a nice storm in Sussex. It's a really wholesome, what one may call a winter storm, with lots of rain and basically wind. So, there you go. It's not, they've called it Storm Bert, but it's just basically winter and a storm. In no particular order. So anyway, I thought we'd look at this because I wasn't online when this all happened in the week, whenever it happened. And, for a change... makes a change, it's not the Catholic Church, but this time it's the Church of England, where they are all in fact allowed to be married. So it rather does put it into a cocked hat, all the theories that a lot of the time the Catholic priests were being, well, whatever they were being, because they weren't allowed to marry. Now, when I was a child, we had a really good priest at our church that I was sort of forced to go to, and he left to get married to a woman. Yes, it was an absolute disgrace, you know. Yes, he was defrocked and never to be spoken of again in polite society, I have you know. No, because how dare he marry a woman? Yeah, he married a woman, they had 5 children, lived very happily until he died. So, there's that. And then there's other stuff that isn't that. And we're going to talk about other stuff that isn't that. So, shall we just jump in? Let's go, come on. What's happening?
Days after his unprecedented decision to quit as Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby has written to John Smythe's victims to apologise and offer to meet them.
Yeah, that'll do it. That's all right.
In the letter, the Church of England says is...
Can you all stop moaning? Because he's written to you and apologised. Can you just, move on?
Accepts the harm...
And listen up, don't do that, because anyone can move that blurring. You just, you can move it. It's a bit of editing tool. So we really know. I wouldn't do it, because obviously they've blurred it out. When somebody blurs it out, it means they don't want you to look at it, dear YouTube people. So what you do is you don't look at it. I could do exactly the same thing a dozen times over and post it everywhere, but I wouldn't, because I'm not a bleeding psychopathic menace. But you can see here, delivered by mail to dear somebody. If you hold that up to the light and just use a very easy app that's on your editing, a very easy editing tool, you can remove the blur and find out who the name is underneath and then post it all over Twitter. Why don't you? I mean, it's all the thing, you know. It's quite the rage. Let's go.
You and would like to say sorry for the abuse that you have suffered and acknowledge the impact that this has...
No, shut up. That's all right. We'll move on now because, they've said sorry and they acknowledged something or other that no one cares about. Right, let's go.
Mr. Welby has accepted in an interview with Channel 4 News last week that he was wrong to delay meeting victims for years.
I agree that was 3 years too long. You know, you can take advice and blame other people and all sort of stuff that doesn't matter. It's my responsibility that I didn't follow that up quickly.
Yes.
Mr. Smythe, Cathy Newman.
And I heard Hislop saying that in an interview in Hislop from Have I Got News For You, he's the private eye editor or something, and he was saying that he was at a do, you know. Was it at the Science Museum or the Victoria and Albert Museum? Not sure. Oh, it's the British Museum, sorry. I stand very corrected, you know. So he was invited the day after this broke and this peasant came out, menace, Welby, and retired or resigned. Yeah, resigns probably. I think he resigned before he got... Yeah, he left before he was pushed, basically. And, yeah, so Hislop went to this do. It was a very fancy do with lots of cocktails and chumminess. And this bleeding effort came up and said, hello, my name's Justin Welby. I mean, the cheek of the bloody man. I talk about they've got no... Oh, I'm the Archbishop. He needs to tell Ian Hislop who he is. Everybody knows who the menace is. The fact is, he was smiling, laughing, chatting, congregating in a congregational sort of congregating way. And having a jolly fine old time at the British Museum, at the largest, and probably the British Museum, that is actually funded by, let me look, Computer World. Oh yeah, the taxpayer again. So there he is, freeloading and freebeing off the taxpayer, having a nice time, whereas the day before he had to resign for, basically, covering up for a bonce. B-O-N-C-E. Bonce. Right, let's go.
From Channel 4 News. We're told that you beat young men until they bled. Why did you do that?
Oh.
I'm not talking about that.
An official review.
What's his wife doing there? Because, I mean, I don't know about you ladies, but somebody could come up to anybody... Well, I wouldn't be with anybody like that, but if I was, they'd be like... Well, they'd be brown bread or toast at the very least. They'd be... Well, their bags would be packed, let's put it that way. Definitely. Well, probably wouldn't be packed. I wouldn't bother packing them. I mean, would any of you? You know? Oh dear, I'll just open the window, chuck them out. And then the clothes. Oh dear. See, the thing is, it's like everything, the cover-up is often worse than the actual thing, but in this case it isn't worse because the actual thing was really bad, but the cover-up made it worse. And what's come out of it as a consequence of this inquiry is actually a lot more of it's going on. They're trying to draw the public back to just this man, who I might say, if you don't live in Britain, is brown bread, my dear. My dear YouTube person, yes, who's viewing this person is brown bread. He is deceased, he is in fact no more. So if we can all just concentrate on somebody that was doing this, who was doing it, in the past tense as in was, because he is now deceased, we don't need to worry about it. We don't need to look any further. We could just doff our caps and go about our business and let the church keep bleeding everyone. I mean, where I was, the church was doing all these hooky weddings, you know. The vicar, he was a Church of England vicar, he used to drive around in a bleeding racing car and all this sort of thing, sports car, and he was doing all these hooky weddings. I can't think what they're called, you know, when you get a serial marriage person and just hooky it up. He was getting paid loads of money for it on the sly and living the high life, really, basically. And that was in Hastings. And I'm not talking out of school because it was all in the papers. So there you go. And the church that he was actually attached to is now a sort of derelict, boarded up, very, very sad site in the middle of St Leonard's, I'll have you know. It's a sad world. Why are these people so corrupt? And then they stand there on the stage or on the altar or whatever it is they stand on of a weekend and go, oh, look, we've all got to be nice to each other and law-abiding. Load of old hooey. And who is the head of the Church of England? Move on. Say no more.
You ordered after this programme.
And who put up with Bishop Ball and give him a cottage on his property? Oh, we'll move on very, very veatly.
2017 investigation into Smythe declared last week that he was the Church of England's most prolific serial abuser. But we understand that while victims have received an apology, they won't qualify for financial compensation.
Oh, well.
The Reverend Ian Paul is a general...
Oh, you see, so they're, not only do they do the crime, cover up the crime, but they dictate the terms of the... Yeah. I wouldn't have that. I would sue them. I'd sue them for every penny they got. The thing is, they were like... Who was it? Oh, it's that incorrigible Nadine Doris, whatever her name is. And she was saying the same, that she had a problem in her childhood. And fair play to her. I'm only mildly taking the piss out of her, because you usually see her when she's flogging stomach. But she's had the goodness and grace to stand up and say, well, no, because I was involved in the Church of England when I was a kid, and I witnessed this behaviour, and I wasn't believed. And when she actually did mention it as an adult, and I do believe it was before she was an MP, or was it when she was an MP? Can't remember. I think she might have been an MP, but I think it was after the Jungle incident. She was actually defrocked, you know, from the Tory party, and became an independent. So was it then? It's about 2015, I think she said. And because she brought it up and complained about what she saw as child SA during her childhood with the Church of England, they sent 3 bishops round to her house, or 4 bishops round to her house. I mean, whoa, that's like having the mafiosa family come round, isn't it? I mean, 4 bishops turning up at your door, my darling. Yeah, well, basically, they can do that. If they did that to me, they'd get more than a... Yes, they would. Come to my door. I'd chase them off with me mop. Cheek of these people. That it is like a sort of narcissism, I think, that they really think that they can put a bit of cloth around their neck and that'll protect them. And when you think of it, they chucked out that Calvin Robinson, didn't they? Who's he's always on here. Can't think what he is. He's Church of England, but he's had to go to America to be a priest, vicar, whatever it is. Preacher. He's the son of a preacher man. Oh no, he isn't, but probably if he's got children, they're the sons and daughters of a preacher man. And they wouldn't let him preach, and not because of his ethnicity, which would have been a fact sort of 50 years ago. It is now because, let me think, it's because they don't like his politics. I thought they were there to praise God, not to worry about people's politics. And they do actually take backhanders for... There was the marriage racket back in the day in the 90s. It was very prevalent in the 90s. But nowadays, with the onset of vast swathes of human trafficking, they accept money for, converting people? From, just say off the top of my head, from one religion that may be Buddhism to Christianity. So once they're a Christian, they can't be sent back to their country, even if they're illegal in our country. I can't send them back, because they will say, well, if we go back, they will persecute me because I'm a Christian. But that's a sort of, I don't know, it's a dead man's thingy, isn't it, really? Because it's nothing to do with that. It's the fact that they become a Christian to stay here.
Odd member who sits on the Archbishop's Council, responsible for signing off on a £150 million fund to compensate victims of abuse.
Right.
One of the things that's strange about this is that this is not abuse that happened in the Church of England.
Right.
John Smythe had connections with the Church of England.
Yes.
The abuse happened primarily in connection with Winchester, with the school there.
Yeah, Winchester
and
College,
in his own home.
School
So this is not a question about abuse that's happened in the Church of England.
Right.
Smythe was a barrister and an evangelical Christian who in the 1970s and 1980s held leadership roles in the UN Trust, a charity that organised summer camps. Last week's official review by Keith Macon described...
He looks like a summer camp type of guy, doesn't he? Would you like me to take your child on summer camp? I'll be like, decisively, no. How do you want your no, hot or cold? Anyway, I think we've heard enough of this. So, he died, and they're letting the mop flop at the deceased person's door rather than actually look at the fact that people have come forward and say, well, no, actually, there's a priest here, there's a bishop there, there's an archbishop there, and years ago, when I was a kid, they were abusing me. I knew when I was a young adult of a person that was a priest in the 70s and had since went on to be a bishop and was wholesale CSAing, let's say, CSAing children, predominantly, well, it was boys, it was little boys. And actually, I've got friends of mine that actually suffered, and I've got some people that actually aren't here anymore. If I say actually one more time, I'm going to stab myself in the thumb. And he got done, it was Bishop Ball, alright, I've said it was Peter Ball, and he was personal friends with certain people that may or may not be royal, and gave them a character reference in court, where he was still found guilty and sent to prison. But to no avail, not to be in any way sullied. The royal personage sent him a letter saying, well, do not worry, do not fear, when you are released from your imprisonment, of which you are wholly, I'm sure, innocent, I will house you free or nominally rent-free in a beautiful little cottage on my estate. I will do that for thou. Yes, I will, because I'm really gullible. And it was the same one that wanted Jimmy Savile to be a godparent to one of his kids. So, there's that. And obviously, I'm going to go because Men in Black probably said too much and quite like breathing in and out. So, bye-bye now. Love you and leave you. Bye.